Kung sino ko mo live.
Ayaw, if mag naka-side comments mo, i-down lang.
We are celebrating the 400 years of Recollect's missionary presence in Cebu. Learn more about their history and contributions to the island. Grab a copy of History of the Augustinian Recollects in Cebu since 1621, Studies and Sources, compiled and edited by Professor Emmanuel Luis Romanillos. Now available on Lazada and the USJ-R bookstore. Shop now!
A pleasant morning to each of us. We have a series of conference before our grand closing event for the 400 years of the Recolletas de Cebu, which will happen on the 29th of April 2022. Just a quick review of the first virtual conference and book launch held last February 16, 2022. The book is entitled History of the Augustinian Recollects in Cebu since 1621, Studies and Sources, compiled and edited by Professor Emmanuel Luis A. Romanillos. After the successful book launching, the first virtual conference took place with the topic, The Arrival of the Recolletas in the Philippines and the Establishment of the Augustinian Recollect Community in Cebu. Today, we are holding the second virtual conference. Let us now open this session with a prayer to be led by Ms. Charlene Giral, and after paying homage to our Creator, we will honor our flag by singing the Philippine National Anthem.
Prayer for the celebration of the 400 years of the Augustinian Recollect Missionary presence in Cebu. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Faithful and loving Father, we come to you in prayer and thanksgiving for the 400 years of the Augustinian Recollect Missionary presence in Cebu. O Lord, with a lavish expression of your love, you sent us Saint Augustine, whose limitless works of mercy reverberate in the hearts of the least, the lost, and the last. Like Saint Augustine, may we establish deeper intimacy with you through our works of evangelizing and bearing witness in the gospel. As we celebrate this year of grace, help us to continue the mission set forth by the Augustinian Recollect Missionaries in this island 400 years ago. Grant us the grace to be mindful in nurturing the seed of faith they have planted. May this seed continue to grow and bear much fruit as we move forward in our journey of faith with our fellow Cebuanos. Holy Spirit, continue to sanctify and purify our intentions to serve our brothers and sisters with genuine love and humility. Sustain us through your word and Eucharist, so that like Jesus, your Son, we may keep your message beaming in the hearts of the oppressed, the sick, the dying, and the destitute. We lift all our endeavors to you, O Lord. Ever renew us in your burning love, O beauty ever ancient, ever new. Through the intercession of Mary, our Mother of Consolation, Saint Joseph, patron of our order, Saint Augustine, Saint Ezekiel Moreno, and all saints of the order. May all our efforts contribute to the building of your kingdom and bring honor to your most holy name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I hope all of you are well and in good health, and of course with a very good internet connection. As we will be formally welcomed by our dear Vice President for Academics, Reverend Father Leo G. Alaras, OAR.
To our religious administrators headed by the University President, Reverend Father Christopher C. Maspara, OAR, to our lay admin, to our faculty and staff, and of course to our students, good morning and welcome to our second virtual conference for the celebration of the OAR 400 in Cebu with the topic Missionary. Nowadays, the church has been put to a predicament where its moral influence seems to be tainted with a lot of negative anti-church sentiments or anti-clerical sentiments. If the church, for example, involves herself in political or any social concerns and controversies, a lot of people would destroy the church's credibility, especially in social media. The name of a fictional character, Padre Damaso, has been a favorite name of some to define the church as an abusive and evil institution. But now, we will see how the church really led the people to what we call the social transformation, particularly the Philippines. Let us take a glimpse of the root of our faith by going back to the root of our history as a people and as a Catholic nation. So once again, good morning. Welcome to this virtual conference and adelante.
Thank you very much, Father Alares, for that warm message, and welcome to our participants this morning. And speaking of participants, let us acknowledge the OAR, the Cebu community. And I hope that you are ready with the ticking of the heart button in Zoom. So please, as I call your community, please tick the heart button to acknowledge your community. To start off, from the University of San Jose Recoletos main and Basac campus, please tick the heart button if you are available. Next would be the University of San Jose Recoletos Balamban campus. Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish, Recoletos, Cebu. Our Lady of Consolation Parish, Recoletos of Laray. And Talavera House of Prayer, Recoletos. We would like also to acknowledge our participants from the AR de Cebu community. And let us acknowledge Consolatrix College of Toledo City, Santa Monica Academy of Pinamangahan, Immaculate Heart of Mary Academy, Minglanilla, and St. Paul Academy of Bantayan. Thank you very much for gracing with us this morning. And I know that you are very eager to listen to our speaker for today's conference. And to introduce our esteemed guest, let us welcome the Assistant Chair of the Conference Committee, Dr. Helme E. Tapanan.
As Augustinian Recollect educators, mentors, graduates, alumni, and students, it is always appropriate to appreciate our origin, understand our very own history, and continue to be the pride of the OAR community. To our religious administrators, lay administrators, faculty, non-teaching personnel, parents, students, invited OAR the Cebu communities, guests, ladies and gentlemen, maayong buntag kanatong tanan. Today, in our second virtual conference on the Exemplary Recollect Missionaries in the Philippines, may I have the honor to introduce our very own, the Recollect historian, as our resource speaker of this event. Our invited speaker for today is a man of words and deeds in the order of the Augustinian Recollect community, based on his significant contributions and writings as a church historian. He completed his doctorate in church history in 2009 and licentiate in church history in 1998 at Pontifical Gregorian University, Rome, Italy. He finished his Master of Arts in Theology at San Sebastian College, Recoletos, Manila in 1992. And the Classical Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy at Casiciacos Recoletos Seminary, Baguio City in 1985. At present, as a professor at the University of Santo Tomas Faculty of Sacred Theology, a lecturer at St. Ezekiel Moreno Novitiate Recoletos Antipolo City, and the vice prior in the Recoletos Formation Center, and the archive administrator of the Archivo Recoleto in Bulwagang Recoleto at Miranila Homes, Quezon City. As a delegate of Dos Congreso Histórico Agustino Recoleto, Facultad de Teología de Granada, Spain, and as the Dean of the Recoleto School of Theology in Manila from 2012 to present, with his third term now, he was still able to publish numerous articles and journals and bulletins. And to name some of these are the lay evangelizers during the Spanish colonial period, 16th to 17th centuries, Rower's Journal of the Graduate School of Theology, Immaculate Conception Major Seminary in 2015. The Imus Hacienda from 1800s to the Philippine Revolution of 1896 in the Journal of Theology and Pastoral Life in 2014. The Deconstructing the Augustinian Recollect Habit, Recollectors Update in the Formation Year of 2013 to 2014. The Christianization of Bulinaw, Western Pangasinan, the Augustinian Recollect Experience, Restless Heart in 2013. And many, many more about Augustinian Recollect General Chapter, Hacienda Itemus Kabiri, and the Religiosas Familias and the like. Also, with his articles in the books such as The Augustinian Recollects in the Christianization of Western Pangasinan, The Heritage and Legacy of the Archdiocese of Lingayen, Dagupan in 2014. To Filipino Witnesses of Ezekiel Moreno as a man of God and a man of prayer. The Colonial Mission Complex, the architecture of the Augustinian Recollects in the Philippines. And the Historian's Preface, the Congregation of the Augustinian Recollect Sisters since 1725. Moreover, he shared his knowledge and expertise through the numerous delivered lectures, seminars, workshops, and conferences in the Philippines. With a grateful heart, so much joy and excitement, let us all welcome our resource speaker with full attention, a happy heart, and willingness to be engaged and listen. Let us give a virtual and thundering applause to Reverend Father Emilio Edgardo A. Kilatan, OAR, EHD. A round of applause, please.
Thank you to all, and welcome to our, we might say, webinar on the Exemplary Augustinian Recollect Missionaries in the Philippines. No? And in doing so, I did my research, no, in order to give us a panorama of selected and exemplary Augustinian Recollect missionaries who were here in the Philippines and help us form, no, the Filipino nation on each level, the level of that is cultural and educational, but under the umbrella of, no, church mission. So I divided the exemplaries, no, to two categories. First, during the Spanish period, and second, during the, we might say, American and we might say present period. So there were six. And the first six during the Spanish period, they were chosen as exemplary recollects, and their statues are found, no, as a monument, no, just in front of Bulwagang Recoletos in Quezon City. Okay. Okay. So these are the six, no, recollects, no. The statue is made of fiberglass, no, made by the famous national artist, no, Kaido, and it was inaugurated in 1995 together with the whole complex of the Bulwagang Recoletos, no. So I was reflecting on how they were chosen, including the second group, no, containing again six, no, six during the Spanish period, six from the American period to the present period. So how did I put into this? How did I choose them? No? So in our Recollect constitutions, in order for you to be an Augustinian Recollect, there are three, we might say, criteria, no, to define the way you live as Augustinian Recollects. No. The Constitution approved by Rome, no, from its very first inception in 1589, the formal, up to the present Constitution, our Constitution reminds us of how to be a Recollect. Because remember, the Recollect is not just a, we might say, an ideal person. He is a person, no, embodied by the idealism of the first founders, no, of the recollection way back in 1588. So what are these three, we might say, criteria, no, the way we could choose this, why I chose these personages, no, these recollected leaders. First, no, there is the love for God. No? There's an intense love for God. We call it in Latin amor castus. No? And the love for God, no, calls them to prayer and conversion. Then, love for community life, the amor ordinatus. No? Are they faithful in living the common life, no, as Augustinian, while, no, serving the church? And this third criterion, serving the church, love for the church, is amor diffusivus. The love you experience with God in your personal life and the love you experience in your community life is diffused, shared with the church. When the church calls us to serve her, no, in every aspect of the apostolate, education, formation, parish work, and mission. So these are the three criteria of how these six, we might say, recollects, no, during this part, were chosen because they were the outstanding, no, we might say, a representation of the recollects who came here in the Philippines in 1606 until the end of the Spanish regime in 1898. So let us review who were they. First is Padre Rodrigo de San Miguel. No? He was the first Recollect to come here. One of the 13 Recollects who arrived in Manila in 1606. And he was a linguist. He could learn the language so easily and learn Tagalog only for a month. No? And he was assigned in Bataan and Zambales. Then in 1614, he was sent back to Spain in order to recruit more missionaries. And when he came back here to the Philippines in 1618, he brought with him the image, the first Carmel image of Our Lady on Mount Carmel. And it was enshrined in San Sebastian Church of the community, which he founded in 1631. So he was a prolific writer and evangelizer. So he was observant, no? Observing the people, and he has the facility to dialogue with culture. And most of all, he was a faithful, we might say, person who defended the rights of the Indios against abusive Spanish authority, lay authorities. So he was the first, no? Outstanding. Second is Padre Agustin de San Pedro. He arrived in the Philippines in 1623. And because of his knowledge in military arts and fortification, the superiors assigned him in the recollections of Mindanao and Romblon. So the forts that were built in Mindanao, Samot, Tandag, and Cagayan de Oro, and also in Romblon, the Cathedral of Romblon and the two forts that are located on the hills of the city of Romblon were constructed under his supervision. And his last fortification that he built was in the island of Banton, the same in the province of Romblon. So he was, because of his love for his flock, and he taught his flock to defend against Moro piratical attacks, and he even went into foray in order to fight against these pirates. So he was feared by the Moro pirates, and Filipino historians dubbed him as El Padre Capitan. And he was the first Spaniard to be able to penetrate what is called the area called the Lanao province and Lake Lanao and confronted Sultan Kudarat. That was before Corcuera. Okay. So he died in Romblon and he was buried there in the church which he built. Okay. Next po is Padre Diego Serra. He arrived in Manila in 1792. And while studying Tagalog in our community, in Intramuros, he showed his talent as an organ builder. He built the first organ for our old church, for the old church in Intramuros until it was destroyed when the Americans came in 1898. It was vandalized by the American soldiers who occupied the church. And before he was assigned to Las Piñas, he was first assigned in Mabalacat, Pampanga, our parish there. And when the parish of Las was created, he became the first parish priest of Las from 1795 to 1832. So what he did was he improved the economy of the town. He improved the fishing industry, farming, and in order to connect, because Las Piñas is located in between, in the south, the Zapote River, in the north was the Parañaque River. So he built temporary bridges to connect the town because it was isolated by the two rivers. And not only that, he prepared his masterpiece, the bamboo organ of Las Piñas, while the church was being still constructed. Ito maganda. This is beautiful. Lack of money, he begged our provincial in Intramuros to lend him the money in order to complete the church and his project, and which he did. So what he did, he paid the debt by offering his talents in repairing the things that are needed to be repaired in the Imus Hacienda in order to pay the debt that he owed to the provincialate, because of his talent in mechanics. So all the machineries and even the dams of the Imus Hacienda were repaired by him in order to pay the debt he owed by building the Church of Las Piñas. Okay? So he was so solicitous with his parishioners, and he stayed there for almost 30 years. He was the longest parish priest to date to serve in Las Piñas. Then the only Recollect Archbishop of Manila, Jose Julian de Aranguren, he came to Manila in 1829, and he learned Tagalog with a span of 3 months. Kaya nga, this is very interesting. Many nationalist historians accuse the friars. They do not know the language of the people. And that is not true. You cannot become a parish priest. There is a law passed as a result, that no one can be assigned as parish priest unless you master the language of the people of the parish whom you're going to serve. So I answer this accusation leveled against the Spanish. They do not know the language of the people. No, they knew the language, because before you could be a parish priest, you should learn the language of the people. That was a requirement. Non-negotiable. And besides, who composed most of our grammar books and dictionaries? The Spanish missionaries. Name me a diocesan Filipino priest during the Spanish period who composed dictionaries and grammar books. Name me. But there were already in the 19th century, there were diocesan priests who were already composing devotional literature, but not grammar and grammatical books and dictionaries. That's why before he became Archbishop of Manila in 18, he was a missionary dedicated to the evangelization of the Negritos, the Aitas. He was in Capas Tarlac and Masinloc, Zambales until in 1845 he was appointed as Archbishop of Manila. He defended the Filipino diocesan clergy by not allowing the civil government to take over the Quiapo Church, where the Nazareno is located. The Governor General wanted the Quiapo Church to be given to a religious order. The Archbishop refused because it is against the policy that this Quiapo Church was not founded by a religion, but it was under the diocesan clergy. So he even fought the Governor General in order to keep Quiapo Church under the Filipino diocesan clergy. Second, he was instrumental after the cholera epidemic, that raged Manila, for the arrival of the Daughters of Charity. And in order to fight, usually he promoted the Banco Español Filipino. He deposited the money of the Arch in that bank. The Banco Español is now called the Bank of the Philippine Islands. So he was the one who encouraged the people to trust in the banking system. Then the builder of Negros, Fernando Cuenca, he arrived in the Philippines in 1849 and spent his entire life as a missionary and parish priest, missionary of Negros and parish priest of Talisay, Negros Occidental. He was also an agriculturist, inventor, and hydropathist. He invented the hydraulic press to crush sugar canes that would produce sugar in Negros. And he was the longest-term parish priest of Talisay, Negros Occidental, and pioneered, a pioneer missionary in the hinterlands of Negros. He died in 19... During the revolution, the revolutionaries respected him. They did not arrest him, unlike the others who were arrested and they were incarcerated in the jail in Bacolod. He was given freedom to continue his ministry because the people protected him from the revolutionaries. And lastly, the sixth, of course, we know, St. Ezekiel Moreno. He arrived in Manila on February 10, 1870. And after his ordination in Manila, he was in Calapan, Mindoro, to learn Tagalog. Again, he has to learn that. He spoke and preached in Tagalog. Afterwards, his superiors assigned him in Mindoro, Palawan, Mindoro, Las Piñas, and Batangas, and Cavite for several capacities as parish priest and administrator of the Imos Hacienda. He volunteered to go to Colombia to restore our dying province there in 1895, and he became the apostolic vicar of our missions in Casanare, Colombia, and later became Bishop of Pasto. He died in 1906, and John Paul II, of course, canonized him in Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic in 1992, proclaiming as a model pastor of the Americas. Remember, when you talk about the Americas during the Spanish period, it included the Philippines because we were under Nueva España at that time. And Nueva España is today Mexico City. Okay, the country called Mexico. So with these six, we were able to give a panorama of how they contributed and expressed these three criteria: love, intense love for God, intense love for community life, and intense love for the church. And they emitted what we call today the order of sanctity of how they live as Augustinian recollects. Now, let us go to the second part, the 20th century, during the American period up to our present. Using the same criteria and after reflecting, because it's hard for me, a historian, there are too many who are also holy. But allow me to share with you my personal choices of who are the outstanding Augustinian Recollect missionaries who were in the Philippines and contributed something, not only for the Philippine church, but also other church, the church outside of the Philippines, the Missio ad Extra. Okay? And we had missions in Brazil when we were still under the mother province of San Nicolas de Tolentino. And remember, the province before we became an order in 90 was the strongest was the province of San Nicolas de Tolentino that was based here in the Philippines. And after World War II, the seat of the province was transferred to Spain, Madrid, Spain, and the Philippines became a vicariate under the mother province whose seat was in Madrid, Spain. So under the vicariate of San Nicolas de Tolentino, there are three countries, that is Philippines, China, and Guam, that was added in the 1970s. So allow me to share with you this, we might say, the choices I made, who are the 6 outstanding, exemplary, rather, Augustinian Recollect missionaries in the Philippines. The first choice was Father Leandro Nieto, okay, 1893-1960. After his ordination in Manila in 1916, he was assigned in our former mission and parishes in Romblon, especially in Kahidyokan, Sibuyan Island, and later San Fernando again in the same. It is one of the poorest missions we had, especially after the Philippine Revolution and after the Filipino-American War. And he was able to restore these parishes and was able to prevent Aglipayanism, no, to convert his parish from Aglipayanism. And the people respected him. So before he was assigned to, we might say, to this area, he served as several to Palawan. He served as pastor in some of our parishes in Negros, especially in Sumag, La Carlota, and Talisay from between 1922 and 1931. He was appointed vice prior of the Recollect community in Intramuros, 1931 to 1934, and he became a provincial councilor in 1935. In 1938, Padre Nieto was named as the 3rd apostolic prefect, prefect of Palawan, and during his term as apostolic prefect, he founded the Seminario de San Jose in Puerto Princesa. So he fomented the local vocations in Palawan. That's why he was dubbed as the father of the Palawan diocesan clergy. He was the one who founded the seminary for the formation of future priests for Palawan, and mostly are Palaweños. However, during his term as apostolic prefect, he witnessed the disaster and the effects of World War II. The brutality of the war, and the murder of his parishioners by the Japanese. And even though he was a Spanish citizen, an ally with the Japanese, there were also the anti-Catholic persecution shown by some Japanese soldiers. And most of the churches and convents during his time were destroyed. So after the war, he resumed his ministry and for the reconstruction of the Apostolic Prefecture of Palawan. And through his efforts, he was able to establish a normal school in the city of Puerto Princesa to foment higher education among the Palaweños. And due to poor health, he resigned, and he went to Baguio for rest, and he died there in the 1960s. And he was buried in the public cemetery in Baguio City. Then we have the second, we might say, exemplary Recollect missionary was Bishop Martin Legara. So he arrived in Manila in 1931, and after finishing theology, he was ordained priest. He was ordained here in Manila. And he was assigned one of the priests to study pedagogy, which he called BS in Education in UST. And in order to do that, he finished all the requirements, because by 1941, the province of San Nicolas opened its door to the educational apostle. And in order to do that, some selected friars were ordered by the provincial to study education or pedagogy at that time in the university, and he was one of them. So most of his apostolate was education. And sometimes he was assigned in the missions to take over temporarily some mission or parishes in the Philippines, and still under the Recollect administration before World War II. And he is considered as the founder of Colegio de San Jose Recolletos. He was one of the founders, and this Colegio later on became what is known today as the University of San Jose Recolletos in Cebu City. And he did not stay long in the Philippines. From 1931 to 1963, he was here. But in 1963, Pope Paul VI named him as Bishop of Bocas del Toro in Panama, the prelature. He was the first one the first Recoleto Bishop of Bocas del Toro in Panama. Okay? So, he died somewhere between, he died somewhere between 1986 and, or between 1985 or 9. I'm still looking for the data. So, as most of these 6, except Padre Nieto, starting with Martin Legara, I met them. I was fourth year philosophy seminarian when he visited the seminary in our seminary in Baguio, and he gave us a talk. So I personally met him before he went to Cebu to receive his honoris causa degree from the university, because he was the founder or one of the founders, because there were others. Okay. The next is the third, we might say personage that I'm still, proud to meet and live with in the community of San Sebastian, Manila, was Bishop Gregorio Espiga, 1912-1997. So, those who were being sent to the Philippines, instead of studying theology, they were chosen to study either in England or in the United States, so they could learn and speak English. In his case, Father Bishop Espiga, he was sent to the United States and then to London to study theology, and he was ordained in Plymouth, England. After his ordination, he was sent to the community of San Sebastian, Manila, where he stayed there. In 1937, he served as assistant parish priest in San Carlos, Negros Occidental. Then he was assigned to the parish of Brooks Point, Palawan in 1939. Then in 1941, he joined the school administration of Colegio de Santo Tomas Recoletos, again in San Carlos, Negros Occidental. When World War II broke out, Padre Espiga, together with some Recollects, courageously assisted the people of Bacolod, Calatrava, and San Carlos in their spiritual and material needs. Escaping from, avoiding Japanese, and we might say sentries, guarding some passes or roads in these areas. And because of his courageous, we might say, ministry, he was given the title by the people, Guerrilla Padre, because he always risked his life crossing the Japanese line in order to administer the sacraments to war refugees, to the guerrillas and their families in the mountains forests of San Carlos and Calatrava. And because of his contribution and courage in administering the needs of the people, on February 9, 1952, the municipal council of San Carlos gave him declared him as the adopted son of San Carlos. In 1946, he became rector of San Sebastian College, Manila, when it was reopened. And then the following year, rector of Santo Tomas Recoletos, San Carlos, in 1947. And he became the first rector of Santo Tomas de Villanueva Minor Seminary in 1948. He was elected provincial secretary of San Nicolas Province in 1952, so he had to go back to Spain. However, in 1953, on September, he was named apostolic prefect of Palawan, replacing Bishop Nieto. So, but 2 years later, on September 10, 1955, Pope Pius XII appointed him as the local ordinary bishop of the newly elevated Apostolic Vicariate of Palawan. That's why when he celebrated his Silver Jubilee in 1980, Pope John Paul II praised Bishop Espiga for his achievements. What did he say? It was a praise to the bishop. The diligence you have employed in imparting catechesis grounded on appropriate reasons, your solicitous care in gathering and fomenting vocations to the priesthood, the zeal and care by which you have translated the decrees of the Second Vatican Council into reality became the salutation of the Pope during the transition period from pre-Vatican to the post-Vatican II period. So he was the one he applied the Vatican Council decrees in the Vicariate of Palawan. So that was the thing that Pope John Paul praised, no? This, we might say, missionary bishop. Okay? So allow me. So he was one of the longest bishop, no, who admit the whole of Palawan, including the island of Cagayancillo facing Panay Island, no? And he was legendary for his generosity, amiability, and thoughtfulness that endeared him both the clergy and his people. And he was responsible for the building of the present Gothic Cathedral in Puerto Princesa under the title of the Immaculate Conception, which was dedicated in 1961. Okay? And during Vatican II, he attended its opening and sessions between 1963 and 1964. Upon reaching 75 years of age as a canonical mandatory age for resignation, Bishop Espiga, obedient to the Holy See, resigned as Apostolic Vicar of Palawan and resided in San Sebastian Friary in Manila. So, when I was a deacon, I was assigned there, and I met him, and he was a simple bishop, following the community in spite of his age, and he was always with the community. He died on April 15, 1997, after some years of coma in Manila Doctors Hospital, and his remains were flown to Puerto Princesa City and was buried in the cathedral. And one of the priests who accompanied the remains of the late Bishop Espiga witnessed the throngs of people who wanted to pay their last respect to their beloved bishop. There was a long line of people going to the cathedral to pay their last respect. So it was a manifestation that this bishop was for them a true pastor of God and an Augustinian recollect. So if you notice, the first, we might say, four were Bishop Nieto, Bishop, we might say, Legara, okay, Bishop Espiga, and we have another one, no? The first two were bishops, and the other one, is he still alive? Is Father Herman Chicote, OAR, no? And again, he was one of the chosen few who was assigned to study, who was assigned to the United States, no? To obtain an MA degree in history at Villanova University in the United States in order to learn English. So between 1956 and 1959, he obtained an MA degree in history. Then after which he was assigned to the community of San Sebastian, Manila. Okay. His superiors assigned him in various capacities as educator, principal, high school principal, and formator. While in San Sebastian in the 1960s, he would pick up the Recollect Seminary, studying in San Jose Seminary on weekends, and bring them to San Sebastian to give them talks on OAR history and spirituality. Father Decena had fun memories with Father Chicote. They called him the Good Shepherd. No, he was we might say, solicitous to the needs of the Filipino Recollect seminarians at that time. So this is a picture taken in the 1960s. No? Father Chicote with the Filipino, no, seminarians still studying in San Jose. So he would bring them from at that time it was in Highway 50 in EDSA. He would with a vehicle he would bring them to San Sebastian, Manila, and give them talks, and of course help listen to their problems. No. So these are the Filipino vocation in the 90s whom he had taken care of, no, during his term in San Sebastian. In between 1961 and 1967, he became high school principal of San Sebastian College, Recoletos, Manila. So there was an anecdote which Father Chicote used to share with me when he was here. How the late Cardinal Jaime Sin, no, was close to the Recollect, no, fathers in Manila. So while still the Archbishop of Haro, Iloilo, Cardinal Sin came to Manila in order to help his brother to look for a job. No? That was in the 1960s. And his brother Manuel Sin finished MA education. And now they would take him in. So he approached Father Chicote. He spoke and asking help if he could find work for his brother. And Father Chicote willingly accepted him, his brother Manuel, to be his assistant high school principal. No? And because of that, no, the bond, the friendship between Cardinal Sin and the Recolletos, no, was made through this friar, Father Herman Chicote. Okay? And when Cardinal Sin became Archbishop of Manila, no, by 1974, the next in 1975, no, there's a saying, no, with love, love is repaid with love. No, in gratitude for the help given to his brother, he elevated the San Sebastian Basilica, or he created, no, San Sebastian as a parish in 1975. No? And another parish in our vicariate at that time, San Nicolas in 1975. Okay, those were the things that we were able, no, to learn from Padre Chicote. And he became prior and formator of Casisiaco, at that time Seminario Mayor Recoletos, 1967 to 1970. And he was prior rector of San Sebastian College in Cavite City, no, 1970 to 1973. And he was able to recruit some Caviteños, no, and many of them made to the priesthood. No? And he was elected vicar councilor 1970 to 1973, provincial in Spain 1970 to 1970. And no, what is most important, what between 1988, no, rather 1982 to 1988, he was vicar provincial of the Vicariate of the Philippines, China, and Guam. And one of his main contribution while vicar provincial was the approval of the provincial council during the provincial chapter's approval to open the theologate here in the Philippines. So he was instrumental because of his his vision, because it's too far. He presented his project to open the theologate here in the Philippines. So that was in 1985 when it was inaugurated on December 5, 1985. He was still vicar provincial. And whenever he celebrates his birthday in August, during lunch, he would join us and share the blessings of his birthday with all of us seminarians and the community here in Miranila Homes, Quezon City. When the province of St. Ezequiel Moreno was created, Padre Chicote opted to return to the mother province, and I asked him why. He said, I wanted Filipino Recollects to run their own province without any influence from any Spanish Recollect. He said that to me. Many of the Recollect wanted him to stay because he was a beloved, no, good pastor of his fellow religious, especially seminarians. But he decided to go back to Spain. He is now residing in Colegio de San Agustin in Valladolid, Spain. Three Spaniards who were bishop, a Spaniard who became vicar provincial, no, who was instrumental for the creation and opening of the theologate here in Miranila. Let's go to two Filipino Recollects, no, whom I, after analyzing their life and my relationship with them as a fellow religious, no, I included them in the top 6, no, exemplary Augustinian Recollects. Padre Crisostomo Garnica, 1922 to 2011. No? He was a native of Dumarao, Capiz. But what is interesting, he was a diocesan or secular priest. No? He was ordained in Manila in 1951 and was incardinated in the Apostolic Prefecture of Palawan. So for 5 years, he was a secular priest, and he wanted to become a religious, and he petitioned the major superior to accept him. So it was positively accepted. So in 1956, he was ordered to go to the Recollect Novitiate in Monteagudo, Spain. No? Then, after his simple profession in 1957, no, he stayed for a year in Marcilla, Navarra, Spain, in our theologate to be integrated to the Recollect way of life, no, again, as a continuation, no, of his integration that began in the novitiate. He made his solemn vows as a Recollect in Puerto Princesa on August 11, 1960. So what can I say with this priest? Because this priest was close to me, and I heard so many anecdotes, no, when he was assigned in Cavite City in 1979. And he was the dean of theology in that school. And while I was studying at that time as third year high school. And what is interesting, he was a dedicated priest, no, in the confessional. Second, he was on time when he celebrates Mass. Okay. Third, whenever there's a need of people, he will willing to help them all the way. And one former teacher of mine, no, share with me, thanks to Father Garnica, he was able to save me from helping to pay the bills of my house, no, which was my malaking he was in there. So he was instrumental, no, in saving the house of a faculty member. Okay, and also the poor would also seek his help, and even prisoners at the Manila, when he was assigned in San Sebastian, Manila, no, would confess to him, no, whenever he would say Mass at the Manila City Jail. And one thing about Father Garnica, he loves to pray. And whenever he would before giving you the absolution, he will always tell you, surrender yourself to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. That is the beautiful advice he could give you before he would give you the absolution. And no, he was, when I was applying to enter the Recollect Seminary in Baguio, he was the one who facilitated my entrance examination and contact with another person who is in charge of the national, was the national vocation director, no, who facilitated the contact and accepted me to the seminary. That was in 1981. And even though he was suffering from we might say, from old age, he was always present in all community acts, especially prayer time in the chapel. And this is the Recoleto, a missionary, and most of all, no, a saint whom I live with for some time. So this is Father Garnica, far right when he was still a diocesan priest, and Father Garnica when he was a Recollect, no, in the 19th with the Tagbanwas, no, whom we was working with. Okay. Another Filipino Recollect, no, who is an exemplary Augustinian Recollect, missionary and religious. Father Loreto Hufana Dacanay, 1962-2016. He was born in Baguio City on February 10, 1962 and spent his childhood in Aringay, La Union. He studied philosophy in Casisiaco Seminary at that time known as Seminario Mayor Recoletos in 1983, and he took his novitiate there until he professed his simple vows in 1984. He finished his theology in 1988, and he was ordained priest in San Sebastian Basilica in 1988, that same year. So he was a silent type. No? When I entered Baguio, he was third year philosophy. He's amiable, hardworking, prayerful, and silent, soft-spoken. And after his ordination, his first assignment was in San Jose Recoletos, no, in Cebu City. Then he was assigned to Santo Tomas de Villanueva Recoletos formation in San Carlos City. No? Aside from being spiritual director of the seminary, he had also held other capacities in the educational apostolate of the community. School chaplain, athletic moderator, treasurer, religion teacher at Colegio Santo Tomas Recoletos, again in San Carlos City. But what was very endearing to him, his apostolic work was not only limited in the Philippines. He was the first, one of the two Filipinos, when we were still a vicariate at that time, who were sent by Father Luch to be missionaries in our mission centers in the Amazon in Brazil. Together with Fray Domingo Saladaga, his classmate, no, they were in Brazil. So between 1995 and 1919 was stationed in Pauini in the Amazons. Then a few years after, on February 2000, he gave a conference to the Recollect Missionaries in Baguio in order to foment the missionary spirit. Yes, Father Loreto recalled how hard and exciting life had been in the missions. He said that a missionary should not only be physically but also spiritually healthy. And by spiritual health, he meant to be in love with God. Those were his words. So when we became a province in 1998, he wanted to join in the new province. So he came back. And his first assignment, he became a pre-novitiate director between 2000 and 2003 in Antipolo City. Okay. Then in Patente again, he was recalled back to the Amazons. So he was back in the Brazil in Canotama from 2002 to 2004 and Papua in 2005 to 2009. Okay. And he really, we might say, had the heart of a missionary. In these peripheries connected by long and winding Purus River, Fray Loreto informed us that the people here were very rich in presence, smile, and togetherness. No wonder he survived and even enjoyed being in the mission because he saw something extraordinary even in what was the humdrum of commonplace. So he was back in 2009 in the Philippines, and he was assigned in Valencia. And again, he volunteered to go back to the Amazons, from 2010 to 2013. And he came back, and again, Father Lauro in 2014, welcomed the brother back to after his stint as a missionary in Brazil, And he said, and the provincial at that time, Father Lauro Laran, I am confident that through you in our midst, the Holy Spirit will awaken in all of us the missionary spirit of the pioneering Augustinian Recollects. Those were the words of the prior provincial at that time who welcomed Father Laran back to the province in 2014. Okay, so he was already sickly because of the effects of the sickness he got from the missions. Yet he was cheerful, silent, and hardworking. And he again in 2015 he volunteered to go to Bocas del Toro, Panama as a missionary. But because of his sickness, it prevented him. Okay. So what happened? In 2008, he wrote this phrase, the human face of a missionary. He wrote, I heard the sound of daybreak and the birds singing their morning praise. At the closing day, the sun would slowly hide its face as the birds welcomed the night by mumbling their prayers and went to their night rests. These were the words of the human face of a missionary who is in love with God. On July 4th, when he expired after suffering from cerebral toxoplasmosis. Because of the disease that he got, that developed in his system, that he got from Brazil, the doctors strongly recommend that his remains should be cremated. He was the first Recoleto Filipino because of his the contagion that he got from Brazil, and developed when he was in Negros Occidental. It was the first Recoleto to be cremated and was buried today in our mausoleum in Quezon City. He was a man of few words, and his long journey in the Sobriga in missionary visit to the riverbank of communities. He was silent. But when he celebrates Mass and when he preached, the people loved him. That's why in the Amazons, in the communities where he was assigned, the people proclaim him as their saint. And there will be a process that later on, the opening for his beatification will be open. And this is Father Loreto Dacanay, who was a saint filled with the grace of God. And when he died, I believe he said, "Thank you, Lord. Thank God. It's mission accomplished." My dear brothers, with these six record in the 20th century, 4 Spaniards and 2 Filipinos, and the Spaniards 3 bishops. These are the faces of persons who with the grace of God, who embodied the Augustinian Recollect spirit, charism. And with them, they remind us of how to become Augustinian Recollects. We are not Recollects good on paper by signing our names on our profession of vows. It should be the way we should live, the vows that gives us a sign, signs of Augustine as Augustinian Recollects. Words are not enough. Deeds are important. As St. Anthony of Padua would say, actions speak louder than words. Thank you.
A heartfelt gratitude to you, Father Kilatan, for that very informative and warming sharing. The Recollect congregation has been here for centuries, or at least in USJ-R for decades now. And so, it touched and molded many lives. In conjunction to Father Kilatan's sharing, let us all witness the different testimonies of the OAR community in Cebu through their works of evangelizing, educating, and communing the parishioners in the Tatak Recoleto way. Let's watch this.
Hello everyone, I am Abigail Mehi Pitulan, a grade 12 student of Consolatrix College of Toledo City. I have been a part of this institution for a little over 8 years now. And in those years of learning and service, I have witnessed the works driven by the spirit of the Augustinian Recollect, and being an Augustinian Recollect student crusader, or widely known as ARSC, touching lives far beyond the gates of my institution, and as a whole made the island of Cebu an island of high-spirited workers of God. As Augustinian Recollect missionaries, we are bound by the same mission: to seek the truth, render service to the church, and grow in charity according to the charism of St. Augustine. Our institution has been the channel of these very acts, and these are instilled among the students, not as fragments of textbook knowledge, but as principles to live by. As we nourish this young generation, we ensure and await a generation of faithful workers, driven by the very same principles, whose paths exceed ours, far beyond the islands of Cebu, and into the hearts of the transformed and the evangelized. As an individual in this institution, the works I have witnessed inspire me every day to impart what I know to the less privileged, give what I have to the less fortunate, and take whatever wisdom I can from the AR congregation as I anticipate for the chance to share these to the lives that would outlive mine. As Augustinian Recollect missionaries, it is a duty to be firm in our acts of service, no matter what the circumstances are. After all, it is our primary task to care for the health of souls. As a consolatrician, I am constantly and efficiently growing in an environment that nourishes my faith and inspires me how to help others realize theirs. Evangelization is a key point, not only in my education, but in the inner workings of my spiritual journey and development. CCTC has actively worked on the realization of faith through evangelization all over the island of Cebu, and I am very much grateful to be one of the speakers and evangelizers in many of those tribes. Delivering the only Catholic education in Toledo City, I am proud to introduce myself as one of the students of this AR school, Consolatrix College of Toledo City Incorporated, which has not only proven its quality education and effective spiritual formation in countless times, but has also shown exemplary acts of charity and service. Just like being one of the first to aid victims of natural disasters, tending programs constantly to the less fortunate, building homes and maintaining an adoptive relationship with other schools and organizations. It is not solely the words of the students can attest to what the spirit of an Augustinian Recollect missionary can do, but the lives as well of the families touched by this mission, and who will eventually outlive the structure and pass on to the next as gratitude to the service that has been rendered. Keeping the spirit aflamed is the goal of every morning exercise in Consolatrix College of Toledo City Incorporated. This aflamed spirit is strengthened by the Augustinian Recollect Spiritual Exercises, or ARSE, invigorated by the Holy Eucharistic celebrations, and fortified by the school's vision and mission. In the quadricentennial of the Augustinian Recollect presence in Cebu, we celebrate the efforts of all involved in keeping our island of Cebu an island of the faithful, the God-fearing, and the Spirit-driven. As I look back on these beautiful, meaningful, and spirit-enlivening experiences of mine, being a product of the Augustinian Recollect Sisters, I am made to recall as to who I owed these experiences. Of course, to the author of everything, none other than our Almighty Father, who moved and inspired the foundresses of the Augustinian Recollect Sisters, Mother Janicia Mitas and Mother Cecilia Rosa Talangpaz, to offer their lives in the service of the Church, under the tutelage of the Recollect Fathers in the spirit of St. Augustine, and who zealously nourished and molded the AR foundresses in all their missionary activities. My profound and earnest gratitude to you, our dear Augustinian Recollect Fathers, for the indirect love, care, and support you give to us, the youth of today, through the Augustinian Recollect Sisters. This then I will continue to relish and carry on as I live my life with others, through the mission, in one mind and one heart, intent upon God. Thank you and congratulations to the Augustinian Recollect Fathers for your exemplary contributions, Tatak Recoleto, to the Philippines, particularly in the island of Cebu.
Immaculate Heart of Mary. that has been provided by the school. Since then, the school embodies how we envisioned our learners would be by a life-giving and innovating education ministry committed to transforming the community of learners into Christ-centered Augustinian Recollect stewards. The Augustinian Recollect has been holding on amidst difficulties by strengthening fraternal charity through God-filled friendship and renewed evangelization. Moreover, it has been producing streamlined development efforts by facilitating the integral development of the learners through transformation through current research, relevant curricular offerings, and responsive community extension services. Aside from that, Augustinian Recollect has been engaging in strategic alliances by fortifying leadership and professional development of stakeholders through continuing education in intensive Augustinian Recollect spirituality. Furthermore, Augustinian Recollect has been revitalizing environment-friendly programs, and we have branched out towards global literacies by developing a community of Christ-centered Augustinian Recollect stewards who are environmentally caring and global leaders. And we have been administrating operations to nurture one another in the shared mission for the sustainability of the AR schools and social relevance of programs and services.
The Augustinian Recollect Mission has always kept us grounded that ours is primarily an apostolate commission by God, which imprinted a genuine sense of Christian responsibility, of shepherding the young to become Christ-centered. Through Christ education, evangelization, and curricular activities aligned. It has been part of our mission to promote God's words by building life-giving communities and enhancing the good characters and attitudes of our learners as they serve as their gateway to living the Augustinian virtues as they integrate faith and reason into their life. IMA never fails to highlight charity apart from quality Christian education, as the school has an established annual feeding and handog pamasko programs for the less fortunate that become a culture of giving. We open our school to shelter the community as we house the delegates during the National Youth Day and as we serve as a vaccination center in the municipality of Binglinulia. We establish ties with the parish and offer assistance, most especially during parish activities and Holy Week. We produce graduates who are God-fearing. We produce political and religious leaders. We provide catechism classes in public schools. We provide outreach programs and evangelization and open house that serves the community. Immaculate Heart of Mary Academy, AR of Binglinulia, Cebu, sustains its exemplary Augustinian presence by living and continuing the missionary works of the Augustinian Recollect, by championing the core values of being an Imanian: interiority, humility, modesty, and amiability, with one mind and one heart in the way to God. We maintain and sustain the communitarian community in Augustinian way.
Christ-centered.
I am persistent seeker for the truth.
I am a life-giving communicator of truth and love.
I am a creator of communion.
I am a transformative servant leader.
I am creator steward of God's creation.
We are Augustinian Recollect Sisters.
Good day! Welcome to Santa Monica Academy, AR of Pinamungahan, Cebu. Today, we present our testimony on the Augustinian Recollect Exemplary process in Cebu in the success of our 400 years celebration. The Augustinian Recollect holds the mission of upholding Christ's sentiments. This has been the core of the establishment of our very own institution, together with the goal of producing quality Christian education and promoting discipline, responsibility, uprightness, and commitment. Since the start of my Augustinian Recollect journey, the beginning of my path as a Monicanian, I have been taught and transformed through the grace of God and in line with the teachings of Jesus. This has helped me recover from life storms and made me stronger. It inspired me to do better towards others, not for personal satisfaction, but for the glory of God. Together with my institution, I have been driven to serve my fellow men and the church in ways that I can. This I am desired to do through Christ's love and teachings, which was brought in light to me by the Augustinian Recollect Mission of Santa Monica Academy, something that I am very grateful for and am willing to share with my fellow Monicanians and Augustinian Recollect learners.
It is through the Augustinian Recollect mission that is to foster unity of mind and heart in God to others that I even first figured what ministry is, what it means, and its relevance for us children of God. Before I stepped inside an AR institution, I had little to no knowledge about this. But from then onward, Santa Monica Academy has encouraged us students to fulfill our ministry, which has led us to walk towards the right path with faith. That is done through our various activities organized for students and with students, such as our evangelization seminars, our outreach programs, and leadership trainings, among others. These activities is what really highlights the AR mission, because you can see how the student body, the faculty, the staff, and the administration works as a whole with one mind and one heart. Consequently, our task to minister God's love will then be fulfilled. This is a gift from God with SMA as His instrument.
Our institution has produced countless graduates and is shaping individuals who are able to contribute to Catholicism, Catholic education, and to our religious Cebuano culture. In fact, a number of my teachers who obtained their secondary education in this very institution are now giving back to the younger generation in the aspect of Catholic education. I've also met a few individuals or Monicanians who are currently serving in the church and the community. These people are the ones who continuously lives up to the ideas of St. Augustine and St. Monica. As Monicanians, we have been taking part in enriching not just our faith, but of other Cebuanos as well. These are parts of us that was cultivated through our AR Catholic education. To put it simply, Santa Monica Academy's contribution to our religious Cebuano culture is its people, the Monicanians.
The Augustinian Recollect's exemplary presence in Cebu, in our town of Pinamungahan, and in my life personally, molded me into the Christian that I am. In almost 5 years of my voyage with Santa Monica Academy, I have witnessed and experienced the process and growth of a Monicanian in being a Christ-centered individual. This unique aspect of an Augustinian Recollect institution motivated me into doing things I was doubtful to do by myself. I have served as a school senator in 8th grade and a local chapter vice president for 2 terms from the year 2019 to 2021. I have attended trainings, congresses, and proceeded to being one of those who conducted the said programs in our very own parish and institution. Through these encounters, I have been given several opportunities to be a speaker in which I aspired to give inspiration to my fellow students. I was also a member of the school choir, wherein I learned the joy of unconditional service. In hopes of continuing to ignite the Augustinian Recollect's exemplary presence, I have been doing these little acts of kindness, love, and joy, which I pray and hope to be a motivation for others in sustaining the fire and spirit of the Augustinian Recollect.
according to the catechism of St. Augustine in the spirit of the order, and serve the church in parishes, missions, schools, and houses of formation. First to give this testimony is our very own school chaplain and Recollect Augustinian Youth Spiritual Director, Reverend Father Christopher Vicas of OAR.
The opportunity to support each other in our ministries as well as care of each other on the human level as well. I have to emphasize the joy of having time to pray with the community and having quality time with the Lord, even in my personal reflection and meditation. Living in the community is really a gift. Why a gift? Because we all know that to be with the community is a kind of immersion in order to go to the world and share the message of the Lord. It is very important to adjust first and be immersed in your own community before you can go to others, especially in doing the work of evangelization.
The clergy and the consecrated people are living witnesses of God's love. I wonder, how are we impacted by the life of witnessing of our OAR fathers? How did our encounter with them help us grow in our relationship with Jesus Christ and awaken in us the spirit of mission?
The clergy and consecrated persons are always important to me and the life of my community as well. Being a worker of an institution run by the Recollect Fathers, I have a lot of encounters with them, which I find so helpful in my journey as a worker, my spirituality, and my vocation as a religious brother.
To be honest, before I came here in USJ-R, I really don't have any idea that these OAR fathers exist. So I even don't know what OAR means, because I was more exposed to missionary sisters since I was from a Catholic school when I was in high school run by them. So I never imagined that knowing these OAR fathers will have a great impact in me. So I was really amazed on how they run a community in a Recollect way. So they're not only preaching the values of a Recollect, but they are also living it. So my encounter with them, OAR priests, led me to become a lay coordinator. So although I am not really a confident person and I really doubt myself often, but these OAR fathers saw what I'm capable of doing. So that is why they always challenge me to do the extraordinary and always think outside the box. So I get the chance to manage a group of servant leaders called the Recollect Augustinian Youth in school, which I used to believe that I cannot do. So I am also tasked to prepare and help in some religious events that can benefit me in many ways.
Being a student here in the institution for 6 years and being a part of the Recollect Augustinian Youths for 2 years now, I have witnessed how the OAR fathers have exemplified the teachings of St. Augustine. I have been constantly participating on the outreach programs for the years that the school have done for our fellow less fortunate people and those affected by calamities here in our place, together with the lay members. I have seen how the OER fathers have influenced so many people in our school to help in spreading the works of mercy to other people and the gift of giving.
May we become servants of the new evangelization to one another so that one day God may finally and truly be all in all. And as our Father St. Augustine desires, may we be in one mind and one heart intent upon God.
As a child, I was brought by my mother in the Recollectus Church, which made me aware of the Recollect Fathers. I was captivated by their habit and their way of life. When my mother died, I continued her mission as one of the members of the Confradia del Carmen. Through the guidance of the Recollect Fathers, the confraternity survived for the past 400 years, and it inspires me to continue that legacy. Maybe this is my mission in life, sharing in the Recollect Mission here in Cebu through the propagation of the devotion of Nuestra Señora del Carmen Nalimpia. As one of the graduates of the University of San Jose Recollectos, it helped me to understand my faith through the recollection, catechism classes, and religious activities in the university. As an active member also of the parish, I was able to apply and deepen what I have learned. This is something that I am very proud of. The devotion brought by the Recollect Fathers truly affected many Cebuanos, especially the devotion to Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Scapulars is worn by many Cebuanos. Another known devotion brought by the Recollects is the devotion to Santa Lucia, patroness of the eyes. These devotions help in the evangelization of Cebu. As the current president of the Confradia del Carmen, we continue to propagate the devotion brought by the Recollects. Through formations and seminars, we continue to impose scapulars in the pilgrims and devotees. This year, our goal is to bring the devotion to the whole province of Cebu through the pilgrimages of the image and the position of the bronze scapular in the different parishes. But the devotion will always be guided with a Recollect way of life, communitarian, contemplative, apostolic, and Marian. Through this, we will bring the Recollect charism to all Cebuanos.
The minister. So the drive actually begins with the spirit, and it is now the minister. First of all, it has to be understood that the drive actually comes from the spirit. It is the spirit who gives the impetus, the inspiration, and the same spirit sustains the minister. But the drive actually begins with the spirit, and it is now the minister's task to equip himself in order to face all the challenges that are in the ministry, particularly in the pastoral ministry. As we are assigned, okay, we assume the obligation to enhance ourselves. Like when St. Paul, he was the revelation of the risen Christ, you know, St. Paul. He believed that it was an appointment on him in order to proclaim the good news of the risen Christ. So it is not the effort only of the Spirit, but St. Paul was working along with the Spirit. Along with the Spirit. In other words, it's a combination of the human and the spiritual. And on our part, we are asked to develop ourselves. It does not mean that when we are appointed to be in authority, that automatically confers on us competence. No, that does not follow. When we are appointed in such a ministry, we go through the struggle, the difficulties in equipping ourselves in order to be ready to face and to do the mission. In my experience, I was trying to shape people, but my experience taught me otherwise, that it was the people actually ultimately shaping me. Sometimes we think that I have everything, I am equipped and I have everything that I can use for the ministry, but it's actually at the same time a learning process. It is both a mission, at the same time a learning process. So with regard to the Augustinian Recollect contribution, I say that it is really about quality presence. I think the greatest contribution of the Augustinian Recollect Mission is the quality presence of the ministers. Now, the quality presence refers to the influence, to the influence, of how much you are able to influence the people whom you are serving. So, if I were the minister, I would consider it a contribution if people would listen to the preachings of the priest. And if they listen to the preachings of the priest, I say, I have successfully contributed. And I say, I would qualify that as a quality presence. If people come to the church without being told, they come because they find solace, they find peace and tranquility. They come to the church because they want to pray. Okay, I think that is the greatest contribution this parochial ministry is. For 400 years, the Augustinian Recollect has been doing that, bringing people together in order to transform and to give quality to the social relationship. So that this relationship will be representative of growth in wisdom and in grace. So the growth that we're talking about here is not just a singular human development, but it is the growth of the communion, the community, the growth of the people, the growth of the social relations of the people. So important in order that this social relationship be in a continuous process of transformation. Quality presence of the minister is very important. Quality presence. A presence that can transform, a presence that can teach, a presence that can accompany. That's for 400 years what the Augustinian Recollects have been doing. Well, I cannot describe it, but I would rather say it is not in the number of years of service. I think the one who can qualify whether the mission has succeeded or not, I think that will only be the Lord who calls. The Spirit was been guiding. You know, Saint Paul, in the time of Saint Paul, there were other apostles, okay, and then people were trying to, you know, to be associated with Apollos, others to be associated with Saint Paul, and they were competing with each other. And you know what Saint Paul said? I planted the seed. Apollos, my friend, another apostle, watered it, but God made it grow. God made it grow. Well, success is not a preoccupation in the Augustinian Recollect ministry. Success is not. For us, I believe, for as long as the Spirit remains, we are going to continue our missionary presence. And it's a missionary presence that constantly calls for transformation of social relations.
We have learned a lot of things from the testimonies from the video. And these testimonies of the different community draws me how to be grateful to be a part of the Recollect community. And as a communication engagement like this, one can be enhanced further by feedback through the reactions or thoughts of reactors they have about the topic. As reactors of this conference, let us welcome a faculty member of the Center for Religious Education, Mr. Dwight J. Ipanto, and followed by the chairperson of the Department of Social Sciences and Philosophy, Mr. Gallardo Gulay.
Good morning, everyone. So I would like to thank my former dean, my formator, and my professor, especially in history, for sharing us about the Recollect history and tradition. It is a good thing to know that as we relish the important contributions of the Recollects in the Philippines, especially as we celebrate the 400 years in Cebu, it is important for us to see how are we founded on the Recollect tradition. Father Emil has emphasized on the three criteria that should remind us of who Recollects are. And for this, if we know who we are, our identity, no matter where we are going or headed to, then we can simply say we are proud to be a Recolleto. As Recolletos, we are so privileged and honored to be part of this community. The fifth definition of the chapter of Toledo, which gives birth to the Recollect order in 1588. Since there are among brothers who are so in love for love of monastic tradition, and for this they are wanting to live a more austere way of life. If we try to understand the transition before there was these Philippine missions in 1606, there has been a gravity towards contemplative life among these Recollects. But they did not decline. When the call of the Mother Church to be sent in the missions in the Philippines with that span of time in 1606. With that, we just simply would like to be grateful of those mentioned, especially by Father Emil, as he divided the 6 exemplary recollects during the Spanish period and additional during the American period. The contributions of the Filipino recollects to the Filipino society is no different from the other missionary orders who came before the Recollects in the Philippines. They have been planners of towns, builders of bridges, roads. They have been educators. They have been into the outskirts in the society during their time. But this was not simply ignored, but instead, with zealous hearts, they were able to conquer the odds. So our Recollects has been a trailblazers in our community. And the Recollects are known for being the creators of communion. This reminds us, as Husseinians especially, we are reminded of our core values. Inspire. How do we inspire in our community as we move forward in the next celebration of 400 years? And with this, we can just simply reflect on those exemplary recollects as we move forward. Gratefulness and gratitude to the Recollect tradition and Recollect heritage and history. With this, thank you and adelante.
Good morning. Listening to Father Emilio Kilatan reminded me of the shining examples lived by the Recoletos missionaries. I actually met some of them. Their love for God, love for community life, and love for the church can always draw the faithful towards the church and of course to God. In times when some nationalists would try to project images that depict all Spanish civil authorities and even including the clergy as abusive, it's good to know that there were Spaniards, particularly Recollects, whose love for God and whose love for the church made them love the community and their flock. I remember one Recollect priest saying that even if there would be movements that are anti-clerics and anti-Catholics, but if a certain Saint Ezekiel Moreno would exist, people's faith would still be strengthened. You see, the Recollect way of life has already produced holy people, saints, the like of Saint Ezekiel Moreno. So, this is confirmed as a kind of life which produces people who can inspire. May their shining examples then inspire us to live in sanctity, and no matter what kind of life we are immersed into. So we thank you, Father Emil, and we also thank God for giving us exemplary recollects who can remind us that we are called to be missionaries in different ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us your insights and experiences, fellow educators. And we should always remember, as a Recollect community, love for God, love for community, and love for the church. And moving on, we would like also to have the opportunities of our participants to ask questions and clarification. You may now get ready with your comment box or your Q&A box that is found in your screens, and you may type in your questions in the Q&A box. And for those who would like really to speak on the mic, please raise your hand so that we can unmute your button. And at this juncture, may I call on the Academic Chair of the Rover and Scouting Education, Mr. Ernesto Vergara Jr. as our moderator.
Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today in this amazing event. I am Ernesto Vergara Jr. from the Senior High School Department of the University of San Jose Recoletos, and I'll be your moderator for our open forum today. Now, allow me to inform you of the basics on how you could send in your questions. Of course, for those who are watching via the Facebook Live, you can type in your questions there, all right? And for those who are watching via Zoom, you can also type your questions there. Use the Q&A function, right? And our technical team will try our best to capture them. All right? So please throw in your questions right now. So once again, good morning, Father Emil. Thank you very much for sharing this morning. Father, there are actually two questions here to start off our Q&A portion. So allow me to read the first one. Among the exemplary Augustinian Recollect Missionaries you have made mentioned, what is that common attribute that any of us, student, faculty, and office personnel, can emulate and be missionaries in our own ways?
The gift of the Spirit is always with us. Remember, when we are baptized, we are given the gift of the Spirit, of the Holy Spirit. And one of these is sanctity. Now, how do we become missionaries? Especially today. Be faithful of who you are and what you're supposed to do as Christians. And sanctity is expressed in so many ways. Be a Christian student, be a Christian teacher, be a Christian professional. And do not use the word, I am a student who happens to be a Christian or a Catholic Christian. That is not good, because you're just using Catholic as an appendix. We should be Catholic professionals, Catholic, we might say, students or teachers, because we evangelize of what we do, not only to words, but what we witness. So this is the thing that we have in common. You don't need to become a religious or a priest to be holy. We are all holy. Once we are baptized, the gift of holiness is given to us. That's why it is not correct to say, how can I gain sanctity? No, sanctity is already given by baptism, by our confirmation. Rather, we should ask, how do I grow in holiness? That is why we have to practice of what we believe in, especially our faith in God and love of neighbor. So those are my answers.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Father, for that amazing sharing on that question. Indeed, we have to act responsibly, be a Catholic student, office personnel, and a faculty. I like that. Thank you so much, Father. Now, the second question is, in your choice of these 6 extraordinary missionaries, was there a specific quality or criteria that you used for you to be able to have the 6 extraordinary missionaries? And can you share them to us, please?
Except for Father, we are talking about the 6 of the record that I chose in the 20th, because except for Bishop Nieto, who died in 1960, the other 5, I met them in person. In the case of Bishop Martin Legara, even though it was a short meeting, I heard from Father Chicote of how he was able to meet Father Martin when he was assigned in Cebu, and the people whom he had touched and influenced. And when he was Bishop of Bocas del Toro, he wrote 3 volumes of his, we might say, he compiled all his letters and communications with his faithful, and how the faithful look up to Bishop Martin Legara. Now, he was a saint. Actually, he died of cancer. So, aside from the criteria that I gave, one of the most important criterion is my personal contact with them, except for Father Bishop Nieto. In the case of Bishop Nieto, there was a thesis written about him. So I was the dean, and it was defended, so I have the thesis. So I was able to do some research about him. But The rest, I met them in person. And in the case of Martin Legara, through the person of Father Chicote. So these are the things that we have to be aware. This is my personal choice because, except for Bishop Nieto, I met these 5 extraordinary Augustinian recollects.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Father. No, indeed, it is really an amazing experience for us to at least get a glimpse of their lives through you because you personally meet them. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so again, we are now open for your questions. You can just send your questions again to the chat box. So let me go ahead and check here in our Zoom. How about in our Facebook Live? Students, you are very much welcome to throw in your questions for our speaker this morning, Father Emil. All right, so far, I think, Father, you have presented everything well. We don't have any questions so far in the chat box or in the Facebook Live. So with that, Father Emil, again, thank you very much for your time. And it was a great experience for me personally. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vergara. And since there are no more questions from our participants, at this juncture, I know we love surprises, right? So please take your thumbs up icon in your Zoom. Who loves surprises? Okay, let me hear or let me see those thumbs up if you love surprises, because we are giving away 500 worth of GCash if you would be able to write or type in the correct answer for our questions, our trivia game for this morning. And we have 3 sets of questions. 1 set for the teachers and the OPS attending in our Zoom platform. 1 set for our students attending via FB Live, and 1 set of questions from our OAR and AR Recollect community. So are we ready? So I hope you are ready with your typing skills now, because the first one to type in the correct answer for the question of our trivia game will win again 500 worth of GCash. All right. And it should be with the correct spelling of the answer. Okay, so teachers and OPS, are we now ready? So please give me a thumbs up if you are ready for the first question. First question. This is for the teachers and OPS. First question is, who is the outstanding Augustinian Recollect missionary brought the first image of the Our Lady of Mount Carmel to the Philippines? Again, who is the outstanding Augustinian Recollect missionary brought the first image of the Our Lady of Mount Carmel to the Philippines? All right, so I believe, okay. So our tech team already sent their signal. Second question. This is again for the teachers and the OPS. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you the answer. And I know that you're so excited to receive the 500 GCash. All right, so the answer is Father Rodrigo de San Miguel. Okay, so I've heard some whispering here and shouting. No, so just a virtual shouting, perhaps. Okay, second question for teachers and OPS. What was the nickname of Father Agustin de San Pedro when he was known to defend his community against Muslim pirates? Again, what was the nickname of Father Agustin de San Pedro when he was known to defend his community against Muslim pirates? Right, so we already have a winner. And the correct answer is El Padre Capitan. Now, these questions are for the students via FB Live. Students, are you ready? And are you excited to receive the 500 worth of GCash prize? Okay. First question. Where can we find Father Diego Serra's famous bamboo organ, a national treasure that he made from scratch? Again, where can we find Father Diego Serra's famous bamboo organ, a national treasure that he made from scratch? Okay, so do we have a winner now? Not yet? Okay, students from FB Live. Again, the question is, where can we find Father Diego Serra's famous bamboo organ, a national treasure that he made from scratch? Okay, all right, we already have a winner. So the correct answer is Las Piñas, NCR. All right, so second question, again for FB Live students. What criteria were utilized in deciding whether or not to send Recollect missionaries to the Philippines? Again, what criteria were utilized in deciding whether or not to send Recollect missionaries to the Philippines? Okay, do we have any drum rolling there? And I know that they are so excited. Or might be they are still looking for the correct answers so that they can type in the comment box. All right, students? Oh, I think there's... we are still waiting for the right answer. There are a lot of participants, you know, waiting to be... Okay, right. We found one winner for this question. And for the set C, this is intended for the... I'm sorry, for the correct answer, because the winner is, you know, having also some difficulty in having the right answer. The correct answer is love for God, love for community, and love for the church. All right, so we already have a winner. Moving on to set C, and this is intended for the OAR and AR communities and our invited guests. Okay, first question. When a Spanish priest is assigned to a parish in the Philippines, what should he do first? When a Spanish priest is assigned to a parish in the Philippines, what should he do first? So we are checking on the correct answer, and the first winner from our invited guests from the Recollect community. So we are so excited. All right, so we already have a winner, and the correct answer is learn the language of the people. And the last question for our trivia game is, what title was given to Bishop Gregorio Espiga after risking his life during the World War II by crossing the Japanese line just to administer sacraments? Again, what title was given to Bishop Gregorio Espiga after risking his life during the World War II by crossing the Japanese line just to administer sacraments? All right, so do we have a winner now? Tech team? Not yet? Okay, so we are so excited. Okay, so any correct answers? They have received a lot of answers from the comment box, but unfortunately, the right answer should be there. Okay, so we have a winner. And the correct answer is Guerrilla Padre. Okay, so you know who you are if you got that correct answer. So winners will be announced right after our tech team will be able to finalize the names of the winners. and we will be announcing it later on. Okay, so at this point, as a gratitude to our guest speaker, we will be awarding him the plaque and certificate of appreciation. And allow me to read the citation. University of San Jose Recoletos, Cebu City, 6,000 Philippines present this certificate of appreciation and plaque of appreciation to Reverend Father Emilio Edgardo A. Kilatan, OAR, EHD, for sharing his time and expertise as resource speaker on the webinar, The Exemplary Recollect Missionaries in the Philippines, held on April 23, 2022, given this 23rd day of April in Cebu City, Philippines. Signed by Reverend Father Leo G. Alaras, OAR, Vice President for Academics, and Reverend Father Christopher C. Maspara, OAR, University President. Again, thank you very much, and our heartfelt gratitude to you, Father Kilatan, for that wonderful sharing and information. And I think our winners are ready. Okay, so any drum roll? So winners. So sit back and relax. Okay. For the teachers and OPS, question number 1, winner, we have Mr. Rafael Sangrador. Congratulations, Sir Rafael Sangrador. And for question number 2, our winner is Mr. Noel Arcelon. Congratulations, Sir Noel Arcelon. From our FB Live students, for question number 1, brace yourself, Angel Burlat. And for question number 2, we have Sofia Lavares. Congratulations, dear students. They have listened attentively to the webinar. And for our OAR communities and invited guests, question 1, we have Ms. Rowena Acosta, first winner. And for question number 2, we have Mr. Loreto Pancho. Congratulations to the winners. And our tech team will keep in touch with you on how you can claim your prize. Okay. And before we end our session for today, kindly check out the evaluation link in the chat box. Please do access them and fill them in so that you can be able to receive your electronic certificate for attending for today's conference. And to formally close our second virtual conference, let us hear it from the chair of the History Committee, Mr. Leroy Gerald Sanchez.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our audience in various digital platforms. Allow me to express my heartfelt gratitude to the following: to the members of the Augustinian Recollect communities in Cebu, students, staff, faculty, religious and lay administrators of USJ-R Cebu City community and USJ-R Balamban community, parishioners, and our religious pastors of Our Lady of Consolation Parish, Recoletos in Laray, Talisay, and of course, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish, Recoletos, here in Cebu City. To the students, faculty, staff, and employees and religious of the congregation of the Augustinian Recollect Sisters, coming from Consolatrix College of Toledo City, Immaculate Heart of Mary in Migdanilla, Santa Monica Academy in Pinamungahan, St. Paul Academy in Bantayan Island, and other AR communities in Cebu, especially from the Talavera House of Prayer Recoletos. To all our viewers in Facebook, Zoom, and in YouTube, thank you for your time and interest in the more than 400 years of Recoletos history in the Philippines, marked by their arrival in 1606, and of course, the beginning of Recoletos' presence in Cebu in 1621, wherein its year-long commemoration will be formally closed with the solemn declaration of the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish Recoletos as the Archdiocesan Shrine of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, La Limpia. To the chair and co-chair and members of the conference committee, thank you for gathering us all today and providing the venue to learn more on Recoletos' history, and in focus today on Recollect Missionaries, on Exemplary Recollect Missionaries in the Philippines. To the technical and media team for your efforts in preparing everything and making sure that we will have a seamless broadcast for today's event. Thank you. And last but not the least, to our exemplary speaker, the foremost priest historian of the province of St. Ezekiel Moreno, Father Emilio Edgardo Alva Kilatan, OAR, who has given us more reasons to be proud of our Recoletos' heritage and legacy, foremost of which are being trailblazers in the peripheries, defenders of the faithful against piratical attacks, pioneers in arts and culture, authors of scholarly works and dictionaries, and promoters of quality education and seminary formation, builders and developers of communities through agriculture and various trades and industries. Exemplary recollects doing extraordinary ministry for the Filipinos and whose service are felt by citizens in various parts of the world. This is indeed a proud moment of being a member of the Recoletos family. Let us take inspiration of the testimonies of our outstanding students, worthy OAR fathers and AR sisters, and lay leader from the Consolatory College of Toledo City, Immaculate Heart of Mary Academy in Manila, Santa Monica Academy in Pinamungahan, USJ-R Balamban, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish Recoletos, and Our Lady of Consolacion Parish Recoletos. Their faith and in their life-giving service will surely guide us in our journey forward beyond 400 years of Recoletos' presence in Cebu. To everyone, from the bottom of my heart, thank you and adelante.
Thank you, Sir Sanchez. And to encapsulate the day, I would like to invite all the participants to update your Facebook frames, your profile pictures. And I think you can see that has been flashed on the screen. How to update your profile picture with the Recoletos de Cebu at 400 frame. So we are inviting everyone to update their profile picture using the frame, because today we are 6 days away from our grand closing of the 400 years of the Recollects in Cebu. So we are all excited. That will happen on the April 29th of 2022. Please mark that date in your calendar. And to cap the day, let us all join in the singing of the OAR quadricentennial theme song, Proclaim His Love, and after which followed by the USJ-R hymn.
Started with the love of a triumphant. He calls everyone to hold proclaim his love. Men of courage heeded the call to lead a life according to his will.
Let us rejoice and celebrate the 400 years of grace. Give thanks to God for the gift of presence of the Augustinian recollects in our native land. Let us rejoice and celebrate. Let us proclaim God's faithfulness and love.
We are called to serve. We are called to care.
We are called to pray. We are called to love. Let us rejoice and celebrate. Rejoice and celebrate the praise. Give thanks to God for the gift of presence of the Augustinian recollects in our native land. Let us rejoice and celebrate. Proclaim God's faithfulness and love. Proclaim his
We would like also to invite everyone, if you have time, to visit our Mount Carmel Parish, Recoletos, the Triduum celebration in honor of the Nuestra Señora del Carmen La Limpia. And these are the activities for the Triduum celebration. April 26, 2020, first day of the Triduum at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, opening of exhibit La Limpia, upat kagatus katuig nga kabilin og debosyon. At 4 p.m., Rosary and Perpetual Devotion. And at 5:30 in the afternoon, Holy Mass, and the Mass presider is Reverend Father Benedicto Tao. On the second day of the Triduum, on April 27th, the first activity is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a talk, Shrine and Synodality, the role of shrines for a synodal church. And speaker is Mr. Kendrick Ivan P. Panganiban. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon would be the Rosary and Perpetual Devotion. And at 5:30 in the afternoon would be the Holy Mass, and the Mass presider is Reverend Father Leopoldo Eschoco, OAR. On the third day, on the April 28th, would be 9 o'clock in the morning is the confirmation. 4 o'clock in the afternoon is the Rosary and Perpetual Devotion, and at 5:30 in the afternoon would be the Holy Mass, and the Mass presider is Reverend Father Dionisio Selma, OAR. And again, I want to invite everyone on April 29th for the grand closing of the 400 years of the Recoletos de Cebu. Thanks to all the members of the working committee, to all the participants for today's second virtual conference, and the entire Recoletos de Cebu community. Good day and adelante.